Yeah, I kind of want to go into more of the primary market side as well as we kind of like come to an end. So we have been seeing decent amount of gaming projects and gaming infra projects that are coming up. We've seen this I guess like evolution of RWA, the real world asset. So this is the whole idea behind whatever is yield bearing, interest bearing. I would say bonds, real estate, like the REITs model in real estate, like all of those, right? And like there are a lot of these, like outside of obviously the main component of like people building on Starkware, ZK, some of those like more hotter narratives. We've also seen the decent amount of like games and decent amount of like RWAs and decent amount of like I guess like yeah like data availability. So wondering for you guys like first of all, how has your private market kind of like a deal flow or like some of the deals like categories, how have they changed or if so, like how have they changed? And also on that aspect, in terms of like type of projects that you guys are seeing, and the valuation that you guys might be looking at, what do they look like right now?
Cool. So I should I talk about the gaming and RWA, or should I talk about the second part about the primary focus?
Anything. I usually leave the conversation pretty open so that you
Sure.
can talk about more of the things that you're comfortable with.
Sure. Yeah, I can address all three of those things. I think number one with gaming. So I think with I mean we could even say gaming and RWA within the same category. I think that is a category that
Really
uh,
interesting. We would put that we would launch them in the same category.
not necessarily the same category, but let me just say this is I the reason why we can think of them similarly is
Mm.
uh, because the concept is easy for all of us in web 2 and web 3 to understand, right? We can think of how blockchain can easily be integrated, but the problem that both of them face is that the model doesn't really work right now. Like yeah, sure, you can like tokenize like real estate, right? And like
Yep.
yeah, sure, you can like integrate your NFTs into your games, right? But like the industry as a whole is not really ready to onboard users to actually use these things properly, right? Um,
Mm.
so in that sense, I say that they're very similar. I think that gaming has a long way to go, and I think that if we look at traditional gaming, there hasn't been that much. Like when was the like? I mean, it's kind of like movies, right? Like all of these, it's all franchise based, right? It's franchise versus franchise, and they keep producing the same project.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, whether it's like like a brand like Marvel or whether it's like a director franchise like Edward Nolan, or what's like some of the other guys like the guy who made like Titanic and Avatar
Mhm,
and guys like that,
mhm.
right? James
Exactly.
Cameron. Yeah.
Yeah, so the point is like with Web3 or crypto gaming, there's no way that we should rely on like Web2 or traditional gaming to just enter the space and like uh, bring us hope, right? Like for me, I actually think that the next interesting thing to make noise within gaming is could have like more heavy like on-chain aspects and come from someone maybe from like an NFT background or like a DeFi background where they've
Okay.
yeah, and again, it's not supposed. I'm not saying it's going to be a sustainable huge hit, but it's going to help advance the space, right? Because nobody's really figured out how to do it properly yet. And so, yeah, and to carry that on to RWAs, I think if we look at most of the RWA projects that made a lot of noise, they never really made it too far. There are just too many right now it's just too many assumptions, right? It's kind of like, oh yeah, like yeah, we can like tokenize like wheat. Like we'll go and like we'll make sure that the farmer that is farming this gets
Oh
their
yeah, I've seen that.
compensation.
We
Yeah,
might have seen the same project too. I've
exactly.
seen where you tokenize a wheat farm and you get a real estate in there, and basically you start like it's like you almost act as like a debt provider to
Mhm,
that
exactly.
to that farm and then you get certain amount of like yield or profit that's coming out of it. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow, like this could be way simpler without Web3.
Yeah, exactly, right. And
Yeah.
so again, like it just goes to show like these concepts are they're easy to understand and it makes sense, but then when it really starts working, it doesn't. It just we're not at a point where it works that well yet. Like
Mm,
people have not adopted enough. We don't have enough sort of like infrastructure. We don't have enough. It just we're not there yet. And maybe it'll happen in the
got it.
future. But yeah.
Okay, okay.